Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Walker. On the news this hour, Presidency, Northern Elders Forum in war of words as Presidency fires back at the Northern Elders Forum's vote of no confidence criticism of the Buhari administration. Southwest Governor's Regional Security Initiative, Amotekun, makes a significant leap as it announces plans to commence recruitment exercise. And for their counterparts in the southeast, the governors held regional security meeting on solutions to insecurity threats. Welcome everyone to the program. We begin this afternoon with a call by the Northern Elders Forum on relieving the service chiefs of their duties. Well, this is coming barely 2 weeks after lawmakers in the House of Representatives called for the sack of same. Now, the group is asking for a total overhaul of the nation's security architecture, other public safety agencies, and replacing them with competent hands to deal with several security challenges confronting the nation. Spokesperson for the forum, Mr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, accused the current administration of failing to secure the citizens from incessant attacks by bandits and other terrorist groups.
It has now become necessary and appropriate, however, to make public the position of the forum on important matters that affect the manner Nigerians live and the future we must all address. On national security, the forum regrets that by any standard of judgment, the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari has failed the nation in the vital area of improving its security. Poverty, particularly in the north, and massive social security problems have worsened under this administration. The relationship between insecurity and poverty is fundamental, but the administration does not appear to have any idea on what will provide relief or solution. It gives this forum no pleasure to say that it had warned Nigerians that President Buhari lacked the will, the competence, and the commitment to lead it into a secure and prosperous future before the 2019 elections. It is shocking that in spite of the unprecedented consensus among Nigerians that the administration requires a new resolve, approach, and leadership in the fight against the nation's multiple security challenges, President Buhari appears either totally isolated or in deep denial over the result of his failures to secure the nation.
In reaction to the accusations, the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, described the Northern Elders Forum, NEF, as a quasi-organization that boasts of no credible membership. Mr. Adesina noted that before the 2019 presidential election, the one-man army called NEF had shown its antipathy against President Buhari and its preference for another candidate.
The group that calls itself Northern Elders Forum took a position before the elections last year, and their position was against President Muhammadu Buhari, and they supported the candidate of the People's Democratic Party. Now, what else then can they say? They are opposition. So if they are opposition, they will not see good things in the presidency of Muhammadu Buhari. And another thing about this Northern Elders Forum, it goes under the name of a forum, but the man that signed the statement, Professor Ango Abdullahi, a former vice chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University, take him out of that forum and you can hardly point at anybody else. That's why in our official reaction to that statement, we said it's a general without troops.
Well, for more on tackling insecurity, joining us is the spokesperson of the Northern Elders Forum, Mr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, also an APC chieftain and public affairs analyst, Mr. Sule Iko Sami, and a former director of military intelligence, General Ahmed Jibrin. We'd like to thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us on Lunchtime Politics. I must begin with you, Mr. Baba Ahmed. What's your response first to the president's media advisor that your organization boasts of no credible membership before the 2019 presidential election? You supported another candidate. I mean, how do Nigerians take your statement as something other than a partisan view?
Well, the first point I would make is I think it's a pity that Mr. Adesina wasted valuable time in addressing the issues that we raised. He spent a huge amount of the time you guys gave him just to shoot the messenger because he doesn't like the message. We said we raised a lot of issues about the failure to protect the country. That's what he should have addressed, not the people who said it. Secondly, I think Mr. Adesina doesn't know anything about the membership of the National Elders Forum. If he does, he wouldn't make those kinds of casual comments about who is in the Northern Elders Forum. I would forgive him for not knowing anything about our organization. But I can assure the nation we're very serious people. There are a lot of people there, including top military officers who have retired. Virtually every member of the National Northern Elders Forum is an accomplished Nigerian who has given his entire life to the country. And we are concerned about this country. We're passionate about this country. We supported President Buhari's election in 2015. All of us supported President Buhari against President Jonathan because we felt President Jonathan was letting the country down. And we continued to support President Buhari even after he became president in 2015. We had many meetings with him. We supported him. We gave him ideas. We gave him suggestions. When it became very clear that President Buhari was not leading the country in a manner that we thought and we hoped it was going to be led, way back long before the elections of 2019, we met many times. We met with him. We met in our own. We released press conferences. And we warned the nation, especially those of us in the North. We thought we had a Northern president who understood our problems. We felt that we would get some relief coming from the North. And we said that we were disappointed that the government of President Buhari was not living up to the expectations of the people. So we are not a new organization. We are not nobodies. But if saying that the government is not doing well means you are nothing, no, we don't have any problem. What I think is sad is Mr. Adesina doesn't understand the implication of what he's saying. Unless you are in PDP and unless you are in APC and you voted Buhari, you should shut up. Nobody should say anything about the failure of this administration unless they supported President Buhari. And for his information, millions and millions of people who voted for President Buhari think exactly like we do, that he has failed to secure this country and there is a need for him to improve.
Let's
and we
hear
didn't
from
just condemn President Buhari.
Yes.
Our document contained a lot of recommendations.
Let's hear from the APC chieftain and also public affairs analyst, Sule Iko Sami. On this issue, the NEF, that's the Northern Elders Forum, they've said that it appears maybe the president is isolated or is in deep denial with regards to some of the security challenges. What's your response to that?
No, I just want to highlight on this pertinent issue, which Mr. Ahmed said, and of course Adesina. It's very important when there's a forum that is representing the entire North. Every time a president has a policy that has impacted millions of people, for them to come out and give him a vote of confidence. I can give you an example. A very important alleviating poverty policy of this government, especially social intervention program, from Uncle Borrower scheme to school feeding program, among other things, has done a lot in reducing poverty, which is having a positive impact on the security of this country. I've not heard any forum from the North coming out to give him a vote of confidence. That aside, and the issue of the president being isolated, that's highly untrue. If you look at the history of the president, he was a leader of the Northeast when he was a governor there. So he has the first-hand information of the entire structure there. The politics in the Chad Basin, among several other things, he knows it so well. And you have to understand when you're talking about security apparatus, loyalty is key. I'm sure most of you understand with me that you need to enjoy that particular loyalty so that you ensure that your policy actually is trained towards the entire government that you actually run. And there has to be an extension of that followership, which has to do with the government of the state, for them to be able to follow up on those policies to ensure these things trickle down to the common people. So I totally disagree with the position of the forum, with all due respect to them. But one thing that is clear is that the government is doing a lot, massive investment in our defense structure, massive investment in social investment scheme, which has a lot to reduction of poverty and engages so many of our youth around the country. And some of us understand very well that the investment Mr. President has done on agriculture has a lot. I have spoken to a general who is staying at Chibok. As we speak, he's in Chibok. He told me that majority of the people around community of Chibok today have gone back to farming. We cannot say it's all who we are, but we can tell you that most of these areas have enjoyed this policy of agriculture. It has engaged them. Re-engagement is still ongoing. People are still moving back to their communities. Poverty is being reduced. Population is increasing. So the indicators are different. If you measure something which is like in 2015, 2019, we have a totally different response, different population, different effect of even what has happened back then
Mr.
till
Sami,
now. So
yes.
from all this, you could say that a lot has changed, and we're expecting a lot to progress.
We'll really come back to the poverty, margin there, because I mean, what we are hearing from the poverty clock about extreme poverty and Nigeria being the capital is certainly another thing. But let's go to you, General Jibrin. I mean, experts have talked about the relationship between poverty and violent conflict in modern African societies. And they've said that it's because we have weak institutions, talking about the continent now. And one institution is the security architecture. Would it be bad to perhaps rejig the security chiefs, for example?
All right, thank you very much. There is hues and cries about the performance of the service chiefs. There's also a call from several quarters that they should be removed. I'd like to make it abundantly clear that removing of the service chiefs is not the solution of the problems we're experiencing. The service chiefs themselves are not the architect of what is happening right now. Let me tell you, if you go to all the services headquarters, the people that are likely to take over from them are the people in charge of what is happening right now. All the services headquarters, they have their chief of policies and plan, chief of operation, chief of logistics, and the GOCs in the field. These are the people that are actually calling the shot now, not Buratai, not Sadiq, or any of the service chiefs that are involved in this thing. So removing them will only bring the people who are doing what they are doing to continue what they have been doing before. We all know that in this country, we have to look up from where we started from. By 2015, when this government came into power, 14 of our local governments in the northeast were occupied by Boko Haram. They hosted their flags, and they sacked the local authorities. Nobody says or does anything only when they say so. But the story is different today. None of those local governments is under their control. In fact, no local government or no any major parcel of this country is under their control. Who did it? The military did it. And it's the government that sponsored the military, provides equipment and personnel for them to do what they have done. So to say that there is problem, yes, there are problems. But these problems are not so much so that we can write off the successes, many successes that were achieved by the military and security agencies. In response to all these problems, the government has not been folding its arms. So also the military. There's a lot of reorganization going on in the military. For a start, there are about 6 operations right now going on in response to the security problem. So we cannot say the government is not doing anything. For instance, Hadarin Daji was never in existence until when the problem of bandits started around Sokoto and Zamfara state. That's when we have Hadarin Daji. It's more than a divisional strength, fighting, making effort day and night to ensure security in those areas. Similarly, in Kaduna State, there is exercise Thunderstruck, which is to secure the Kaduna-Abuja road. There is Operation Wild Punch.
We must take a quick break now. I definitely know that Mr. Baba Ahmed will have a lot to say on that, since they've come up with a position on the efforts of the military and other security plans. But we'll come back to continue with this discussion, get your final closing thoughts. Still to come also on the program, Southeast governors, they're returning to the security drawing board, and this is for better strategy. We'll find out details when we return. Welcome back. But first, some of your stories in brief. We begin with the president, who is pleased that member countries of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, have renewed the vigor to mobilize their own resources to combat terrorism. President Muhammadu Buhari made the comment at the high-level meeting of the African Union Peace and Security Council at the AU Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. He, however, called for new strategies by the Union to effectively prevent, manage and resolve conflicts in the face of new circumstances and emerging challenges. Elsewhere, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission revealed how a former governor of Abia State, Theodore Orji, withdrew 500 million naira from the state's account for 8 years. The commission said the former governor started the monthly withdrawal when he was chief of staff to convicted former governor of the state, Ojuzo Kalu. A statement from the EFCC says the commission has been looking into various financial activities by Mr. Orji, following a petition by an anti-graft group, Fight Corruption, Save Nigeria. It was alleged that various withdrawals were diverted to personal use. Well, back to the discussion on insecurity. We've been talking with the spokesperson of the Northern Elders Forum, Mr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, an APC chieftain and public affairs analyst, Mr. Suleiman Ikosami, and a former director of military intelligence, General Ahmed Jibrin. We'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for your patience and getting your final statements, closing comments on this issue. You can also respond to what indeed some of the other gentlemen perhaps you might want to talk about, respond to some of the things that they've said. But this is to you, Mr. Baba Ahmed, because just in the last couple of weeks, the president has met with security chiefs. The NAS leadership met on security as well with the IGP, discussions on community policing. The VP disclosed plans to recruit more security personnel. Are these not enough to show that the Buhari-led administration is on top of the situation?
No, it's not on top of anything. In fact, on the contrary, it tells you that there are a lot of problems. The basic question to ask is, what is the outcome of all these concerns? Now, National Assembly is setting up a panel. They are revisiting insecurity all over again. The discussions with the president, the discussions with the National Assembly. The question, we have a very simple definition of what security is. We are not going to criticize the military because the military itself is a victim of the failures of this administration. The military needed to be supported much earlier than they are now. We recognize the fact that they're doing a great job. We recognize the fact that they've done a great job. But the military needs a lot more help than they are getting from this administration. And the failure of the military reflects the failure of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Now, you ask, aren't all these activities indications that we're being serious? We measure security in simple terms. Are more Nigerians now under security threat? Not just Boko Haram. But you have massive numbers of populations running away from kidnappers and bandits. We have massive internal problems with towns and cities. We have multiple problems that are not just Boko Haram. These are failures to police the country. And we count it by the number of people who are in IDPs, not just Boko Haram IDPs, all over the country, from Niger to Borno, from Yobe to Taraba. Every Nigerian is living in fear. Every Nigerian, anywhere he is living in fear imminently. You can be attacked on the road. You can be attacked in your house. You can be rich. You can be poor, but you're a victim of security. That's how we measure. And when we say things are worse now than they were 5 years ago, we have our facts. It's not just that we need to give you the statistics. Every Nigerian knows that they are less secure now than they were 5, 6 years ago. And this is a sad commentary for an administration that came to power on the basis of the fact that a president who was a general, if they say we are a general, Northern Elders Forum is a general, an army with a general without troops, what about the general who is leading us? He was a general before he became head of state.
Let's go to Mr. Sami now.
The president who has been in power 6 years, we haven't seen the difference in our lives. And on the contrary, more Nigerians are living under insecurity now than they lived 6 years ago. And that is really a sad commentary. for
Let's
the
ask
administration
Mr.
of
Mr.
President
Sami,
Buhari.
your thoughts and perhaps response to what a number of things Mr. Baba Ahmed has said. How would you measure this administration in terms of security?
When you look at the massive investment in defense already, is enough to tell you the government is doing a lot in our defense infrastructure. If you look at the investment in social investment, you will see that the government is doing a lot to alleviate poverty. If you also look at the investment in agriculture, it's also doing a lot to actually increase our agroeconomic indices to be better for all. And if you look at the country in general, remember, president is the president of Nigeria. We have different government structures around the country. When the government is investing a lot in policies that are supposed to be very well for the entire populace, the states are also supposed to be partners, and local government. There are areas whereby states are coming up with several policies supporting the government. So in the whole run, you understand that every time we want to make a critical analysis of a situation around the country, see what has the government done, what is the effect on the populace, and what is the far response and the collaboration of our states. You will discover that some of the places where synergy is happening, we are recording a lot of progress. Population is booming. A lot is changing in our infrastructure, especially on defense. So if you look at the whole entire thing, you can't sing hallelujah. You can't sing you are celebrating everything, but what you can tell here is that if you talk about 5 years ago, you know very well a lot of local government and the state are not areas you can even visit. The entire Northeast was totally gone. Around the Northwest, a lot has gone. The people have gone back to their farmlands right now. Some of these things are actually vulnerable areas. You see people, they hide, they go into areas, kidnap people and kill. But the successes this military have recorded have not been anchored by our forum. The successes recorded, the economic indices are changing in most of these areas. The forum is not anchoring that. We need to sit down and make sure we direct our criticism to areas where we know that government is not doing well, and even applaud the government where government is doing so well.
Let's quickly talk to General Jibrin. We'd like to thank you. Let's quickly talk to General Jibrin. What to you are some of the solutions, some of the things we should be doing and the results, for positive results we should be getting in handling insecurity? Briefly, please.
Briefly, we have to acknowledge the fact that a lot has been done. Recently, the president launched some fighter helicopters to enhance the Air Force operation. Orders have been put for Tucanos, and they are yet to receive. We should also know the complication and complexity of ordering weapons from outside. We don't manufacture them. The procedure is very difficult. We must have to actually also look at the effort being put to deploy troops where necessary. Recently, the police conducted a successful operation on these Ansaru people. Some people were saying, hey, police are doing it better than the army. In the first place, the internal security problem is supposed to be the job of the police. The military is brought in because the police have some challenges. So we have to look at all this effort. And then those who are having problem with the government response, it is better for such people to come out and say, okay, we have advised the government. This is what we think the government should do. This is what they should not do in order to deal with the situation. Unless we begin to hear that one, then criticism alone will never solve the problem.
We'd like to appreciate your time. Spokesperson of the Northern Elders Forum, Hakeem Baba Ahmed, APC Chief Chairman Public Affairs Analyst, Mr. Sule Ikosami, former Director Military Intelligence, General Ahmed Jibrin. Thank you all for joining us at this time. Well, in spite of the arguments and counter-arguments between the presidency and its critics, the Nigerian Army is reassuring residents of the northeast of their safety as they strive to end the Boko Haram insurgency and other security challenges. The Commander Sector 2 of Operation Lafia Dole gave the assurance at the Nigerian Army's social activities in Damaturu, Yobe State. Also, governors of the southeast states are set to announce the details of the region's security outfit, which they say is now in the final process. The chairman of the group and governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, gave this indication at the end of the group's meeting in Enugu, where he explained some of the efforts already expended in securing the region. Elsewhere, political leaders and stakeholders from Imo East Senatorial District, also known as Owerri Zone, they're in support of the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, urging him to continue to deliver good governance to the people of Imo State. Reading out a communique after a 4-hour meeting held in the state capital, the leaders say they are confident in the administration of the Imo State governor. Well, that's lunchtime politics at this time. We'd like to thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker.